Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing biggest mistake a Dumpee can make. I provide audio coaching to help people try and get their ex back or get a new girlfriend or boyfriend. Check out my website for more details. www.dateme.tips. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. So now let's get back into today's podcast, and today we are discussing biggest mistake a dumpee can make. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, you want to avoid mistakes. In today's podcast, I'm going to be telling you the biggest mistake that a dumpee can make. In fact, no. I'm going to be telling you 3 of the biggest mistakes that a dumpee can make. So without this being in any particular order, let's get straight into this. And point number 1, mistake number 1, is thinking that attracting an ex is like attracting someone new. You have to understand that when you've been dumped, that to reattract your ex is not like attracting someone new. Your ex knows you. You will always be somebody that your ex knows. You're in your ex's mindset because you're in their life story. You don't need to put yourself in their mind in regards of them realizing who you are. Let the triggers do that for you. So let's break this down and make this a little clearer. When you're trying to attract somebody new, you have to get into their mindset. If you find somebody attractive, if you find somebody appealing at, say, a class, a group, or a club, you need to get into their mindset. They need to understand who you are. They don't know who you are. How on earth can they grow attraction towards you if they don't even know who you are? You have to put yourself in their orbit. Now, I'm not going to be going into depth in today's podcast about how you would do this with a new person, but just let's consider that point. A new person doesn't know who you are. You need to get into their orbit. Your ex, on the other hand, knows who you are. You don't need to be putting yourself into their orbit for them to think about you. You will always be part of their life story, and triggers will do the work for you. Yes, you can use other hints, tips, and advice that I give in other podcasts and when I speak to people one-on-one in my audio coaching sessions to really dig deep into your unique situation. Yes, there are hints, tips, and advice. However, generally speaking, you need to let triggers do the work. You can add a few things here and there, but ultimately, that is what is going to help you, using my version of a no contact rule to create space, to create a feeling of wonder and missing you. You don't need to be chasing your ex. Now, I'm not saying you should be chasing somebody new either, but you certainly need to put yourself into their orbit if they don't know who you are. Okay, that goes without saying. But you don't need to do that with your ex. So one of the biggest mistakes that a dumpee will make is thinking that their ex will forget them and they need to do things to keep making their ex think of them. If you had a relationship of meaning and value with your ex, they will have triggers that remind them of you, just as you do of them. So you don't need to be worrying about thinking, okay, my ex hasn't spoke to me in 2 weeks, 2 months, 6 months. They will forget me. They won't be thinking about me. No, let the triggers do the work. Let my version of a no contact rule build that intrigue and wonder. Yes, as I've said, there are other things you can do just to increase the chance of them thinking of you in a positive light, but ultimately, they won't forget you. Ultimately, they will periodically think of you. That is different to a new person. You can't join a club and see somebody that you find interesting, you want to get to know, you think, look, I might want to date that person. You can't do this with a new person because you need to get into their orbit, into their space, because if not, how on earth will they ever know who you are? That is totally different. You don't need to be doing that with your ex. You don't need to be knocking on their door and saying hi and saying, do you want me to do you a favour? No, you don't need to be doing that. They know who you are. You don't need to be texting them periodically, trying to make them think of you in a different way. Let my version of a no contact rule help you realign their thoughts on you. Okay, so point number 1 is thinking that attracting an ex is like attracting somebody new. It's totally different. They know who you are. You don't need to be doing the same work, so to speak, that you do if you're trying to attract somebody new. The way you attracted your ex in the first place is not the same way that you re-attract them. You've already done the work. The work is in the memories. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast about biggest mistakes that a Dumpee can make. And point number 2 is developing a victim mentality. Now, there is nothing less attractive than a negative person. And although it's very easy and understandable to feel negative after being dumped, this is not going to help you. Okay, I always say to people, you need to try and behave in a happy, carefree and fun way throughout your life. But certainly when you've been dumped, if you want to try to get your ex back, you need to try to find the positives in life. You need to strive forward via self-improvement and become a better version of yourself today than you were yesterday, and becoming a better version of yourself tomorrow than you are currently today. If you develop a victim mentality, you are going to be turning not only your ex off, but everybody else that comes into contact with you. Because being a victim when you don't need to be in this regard is very, very unattractive. Now, what do I mean by this? Sometimes when somebody is dumped, they can fall into a depression. Now, this is very serious and you should be contacting a local doctor if you want and need support with depression. But we're speaking about people here who aren't necessarily clinically depressed, but just feeling sorry for themselves 24/7. Of course, it's understandable to be doing this initially. Of course, it's understandable to be doing this even in the medium term, but you have to be turning the tide. Okay, when we look at going through the grief process, there's 5 stages of grief. You will work through them at your own pace. This isn't a race with anybody else. It's just a race with yourself. But you must understand that going through those stages of grief does not mean you should slip into a victim mentality. You're going to be having difficult days. You're going to be having bad days, but you need to be striving for the happiness and realizing that the world isn't against you. There is a difference between feeling sad and feeling like your ex has hurt you in comparison to feeling like everything in the world is against you. And that's what I'm speaking about here. A victim mentality where you feel like the world is against you. The world isn't against you. You were dumped. Guess what? I've been dumped. Guess what? Your ex has probably been dumped. Guess what? Everybody listening to this has been dumped. And the people who dumped them have also probably been dumped. It is something that we all go through. It is life. Not everybody connects well at the same time. This doesn't mean you can't get your ex back. It doesn't mean you can't attract somebody even better. But you will really struggle to do so if you are negative, if you are bitter, if you are angry, if you are somebody who feels that everybody of the gender that you find attractive, if you feel that they are all against you. Let's just say, for instance, that you are a man and you are attracted to women. If you become somebody who thinks, oh, all women hate me, all women are bad, all women are this, all women are that, that's not going to help you. If you are a woman who is attracted to men, as an example, if you think, oh, all men are the same, all men treat me bad, all men can't be trusted, this isn't going to help you. You've got to realise what has happened, acknowledge the situation, look at where you could have improved things, look at where your ex could have improved things, look at how the situation is as a whole, and move forward in as positive a way as you can. If you become that victim, if you become the person who thinks, oh, everybody's against me, there's no point in trying, I'm not going to make an effort with my appearance, I'm not going to try at work, I'm not going to try for my exercise, what's the point in this, what's the point in that, whatever I do, I always lose, that is not attractive. You are creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you are negative, people will treat you negatively. If you are somebody who thinks nobody likes you, it's very unlikely that people will like you. It's very hard to like somebody who is always down on themselves. Now, as I said at the beginning of point number 2, this isn't about saying that people who are genuinely clinically depressed don't need support. Of course they do. Depression is serious. You can and will get through this, but you need support from a local doctor. This isn't about saying that after a breakup, you should be feeling fine. You won't be. For days, weeks, months, sometimes years, you will go through the grind. But what I'm trying to get across here is the world isn't against you. All women aren't against you. All men aren't against you. Not everything every woman does is bad. Not everything every man does is bad, okay? Whatever your situation, don't think that everybody is bad and everybody's evil and you are the only one who deserves happiness without having to do anything at all, okay? Because sometimes victim mentality can create a situation where you feel like you shouldn't be doing anything because firstly, nothing good ever comes to you. And secondly, why should you? You're absolutely fine. Some people think, I'm absolutely fine as I am and everybody else needs to change their tune. At the end of the day, people are attracted to who they are attracted to. You can't force somebody to be attracted to you. So if you want more people to be attracted towards you, you need to go through self-improvement. That's nothing against them. That's nothing against you. That is life. So just to summarize, this isn't about you not feeling sad after a breakup. You're going to be feeling sad. You're going to have moments of anger, frustration and bitterness, but don't let it consume you. Don't get a victim mentality and don't think that everybody's against you. They are not. Okay, it's not attractive. You need to live a life where you are happy, carefree and fun as much of the time as you can be. You need to go through self-improvement and you need to smile. There is nothing more attractive than being jovial, laughing, smiling, joking, having fun. That is attractive. Do that as much as you can and you will find happiness. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast about biggest mistakes a dumpee can make. And point number 3 is thinking that it's possible to cheat on your ex. If you have been dumped, there is a feeling that nearly every dumpee goes through, which is I don't want to speak to new people. I certainly don't want to date new people because I feel like I'm cheating on my ex. You are not cheating on your ex. You are single. We have to change this faulty thinking. It hurts, but you must acknowledge you are single, your ex is single, you were dumped, you cannot cheat on your ex. It might feel like you are, but you're not. You will actually be increasing the chance of you getting your ex back if you speak to and date new people. This shows you are a dateable individual. This improves your perishable skills, such as flirting skills, communication skills and general dating skills. You must speak and date new people. There is nothing better to take your mind off your ex than speaking and dating to new people. So if you don't do this, you're more likely to dwell on your ex, you're more likely to make mistakes, you're more likely to break my version of a no contact rule, and this will not help. But one of the biggest mistakes dumpees make, as I said, is thinking that if they do this, if they speak to new people, if they date new people, they are cheating on their ex. You are not. You can't cheat on somebody you're not in a relationship with. And even if you somehow twisted it in your mind to think that you might still be together, your relationship is over. If you were told this relationship is over and you felt it was over yesterday, trust me, a change of heart in your mind now is not going to be the truth. The relationship, unfortunately, is over. It doesn't mean you can't get your ex back, but they dumped you. Okay, acknowledge that, accept that, realize that speaking and dating new people is not cheating on them. Okay, your ex, if they found out, are more likely to be actually slightly jealous of what you're doing rather than finding it offensive. I've interviewed a lot of dumpers and asked them, what would you think if your ex dumpee was dating somebody new and you found out? And they tell me, probably 75% or so, that they would feel pangs of jealousy. They would feel a level of jealousy, even if they didn't understand why. So this will increase your chance of re-attracting your ex if you date new people, improving your skills along the way. If you sit around at home doing nothing, you're more likely to fall into point number 2, where you develop a victim mentality. That is not attractive, as I've just said. If your ex is under the belief that you're sitting at home doing nothing at all, pining over them, that is not attractive. That makes you look low value. That makes you look like you can't date or attract new people. You need to use social proofing to be attractive. Social proofing is the concept that if other people find you attractive, then therefore you are attractive. So if you date new people, that means somebody else finds you attractive, and your ex will therefore be more likely to see your attractiveness once more. If anything, they might find you more attractive than they ever did. Use these points numbers 1, 2, and 3 to your advantage and make sure that you don't make the mistakes that many dumpees unfortunately do. But always remember that even if you make these mistakes, you can get through them. These aren't mistakes which are going to be the end forever. You can change your life today. Today's the first day of the rest of your life. Let's draw a line in the sand and start being positive now. If you believe that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description.
Yeah, if you miss your ex, we can help with that. Help you get him back, or we can help find you someone else. Yeah, Vincent, the relationship coach, giving you some insight, bringing you a new approach. DateMe.tips, go and check the site, giving you advice, helping with your love life. Get your ex back, or move to the next. Ain't no sweat, Vincent got you. Finding love ain't no problem. Yeah, DateMe.tips, check it out now.